It's almost like they're suffering artificial intelligence disease. It's either that or yeah, Volkswagen has another dumb electric car name. What is it? The E-Up?
The E-Up! Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode of the iTunes Fanboy Podcast. As always, I'm Teddy Magro from the iTunes Fanboy.
And my name is Alpha DeWolf, holding a toilet roll to blow my nose just in case. Gotta love March.
Yep. And Tabby Cat 406 or Smash Tech or Tabby Bears, however you know him, he should be joining us in about 30 minutes. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started for our first topic about how Apple is now going to open a plant in Indonesia after Indonesia banned Apple products unless Apple opened a factory there.
I kind of wonder the market share there, if it's even worth it.
Let me look it up, actually. What is Apple's market share in Indonesia? 12%.
Wow. To me, that's not even worth it. I guess Apple's got all this money they don't know what to do with, so okay, I guess we'll open up a plant in Indonesia if we can't sell our 12% market share there. Just wow.
I mean, it makes sense because it sort of makes sense because I don't know if you watch Williams Tech or not, but that guy, he's based in Indonesia, and yeah, he uses iPhones.
Not sure what else to say about that.
Yeah. It's good that they're opening up more plants, but
I think our next topic is more crucial, if I'm being honest.
All right. Yeah, it is. So, Apple pulled all of their data encryption from the UK, and they launched a legal challenge against their government's backdoor order.
Yeah, this was a lot more interesting because remember last time when the FBI tried to convince Apple that they need to put in a back door into, well, you know.
I remember that.
Yeah, and Apple ended up denying it, stating, no, this kind of violates the Fourth Amendment in some aspects, like right to privacy. And so the fact that the UK government did this, that just... Why?
It's idiocy, because they should know, because just because Apple's going to grant them... Just because Apple granted access to U.S. government doesn't mean that Apple failed to grant access to U.S. government. Doesn't mean they'll give it to the UK government, but... I think this is once again another consequence of Apple giving the mouse of the cookie via making the iPhone USB-C.
At this time they're starting to retaliate, because this is one of their biggest fundamental core values. It's privacy and all that, and obviously if the UK has a back door into your phone, well, that's not private. That's the opposite of private. So. Yeah, this time Apple is actually finally starting to retaliate. I hope this is the start of, no, they're done giving the mouse all of what the mouse is asking for. And I hope this is the start of them reeling this back in and focusing hard on their core values again. But, wow. Yeah, I'm surprised the UK government successfully did that. It's almost like they're suffering artificial intelligence disease.
Yeah.
It's the new plague, everyone. Artificial intelligence disease.
It's far worse than the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yes. The fatality rate, we don't even know. The doctors haven't managed to survive to explain the fatality rate just yet.
Yeah, they'll explain the fatality rate of artificial intelligence disorder soon enough, or artificial intelligence disease.
Yeah. It's plagued the EU. It's now plaguing the UK government. It's kind of plagued every government right now, if I'm being honest. But we're not a politics channel.
We kind of are, but shall I move on to our next political / tech topic?
More China stuff.
So China has launched an antitrust investigation against Apple for the App Store.
I mean, what the heck? Still,
I think
so many people refuse to see it. They just don't. It's like,
I know. I think this is ultimately the Chinese government just throwing a fit because Apple's starting to move production out of China. Because I guess this is a top update from one of our topics from last week. One thing that Apple forgot to mention about their investments into manufacturing in the U.S. are that the plant that they built for making chips is actually TSMC's plant that they built with CHIPS Act money.
That's Taiwanese.
Huh?
That's Taiwanese, not China.
Exactly. But I was just giving a brief update to Apple investing into the United States, but manufacturing. But that just once again just goes to show you how Apple is clearly I think the Chinese government. In short, I think the Chinese government is just throwing a tantrum because Apple's starting to move production out.
I mean, that is a good point because when you think about it, for the past how many years, and a lot of people don't actually know this, but us Americans, we're all, I wouldn't buy any of that cheap Chinese crap and such. Well, for one, sadly, Temu is a success, and so yeah, there's that one thing. Apparently, many Americans have fallen for, Temu, that's a bunch of Chinese BS, and everyone's buying it. And little do so many people actually realize, but most of our electronics, even our expensive ones like iPhones and MacBooks and iPads and basically any other Apple device you can think of as of today.
Except for some AirPods.
Oh, do they move?
Some AirPods are made in Vietnam now.
Well, still, the majority of Apple products, I guess with their country of assembly. I'll give you a hint. It's not the United States of America.
It's on the other side of the Pacific.
It be in China. That's where they're made. So, and we all know Apple's big successful company, which means they've made a lot of money, and that means they spent a lot of money in China. So yeah, China's about to lose a big money contributor towards their economy.
And furthermore, one way China tries to keep a stranglehold on manufacturing is there's this book called Cobalt Red that explains this more in depth, but the Chinese government has interfered significantly with countries like the Democratic Republic of the Congo where they basically will give the leaders what they gave, like the leader of the DRC what he or she wanted. Then China basically came in and took control of the mining for the rare earth elements that are needed in electronics. So therefore, that's how come China manages to keep such a stranglehold on manufacturing, because the Chinese government basically, if you start moving too much production out of China, they'll say, well, we're not going to give you these rare earth elements then.
I hope this means the U.S. will start investing in battery manufacturing more instead of just, I know with the new administration in place, one of Trump's policies is drill baby drill, but I really hope that's not the only energy policy he's going to bring. I really hope there's a way to convince them, hey, we get most of our batteries from China. That's just a fact. Most of our batteries come from China anyways. Why why can't we start doing it? Because like Tesla's making batteries here. There's not many other factories that are making batteries here, but the common player is Tesla. But no, the majority of the batteries, yeah, they're coming from China. That's why a lot of electric vehicles don't qualify for the tax credit, despite that one would think, oh, they should, but nope. Batteries not made here. That's how Tesla keeps getting away with the tax credit most of the time, along with Rivian, and I think there's a small handful of others. But yeah, most of battery production, it's done in China because that's where it's done cheap. And at the same time, my goodness, are they innovating with battery tech over there, which is...
Yeah.
It's a scary thing to think, but like, I should send you the link of the Out of Spec review video where they're charging a battery pack the size of a Tesla Model 3's battery pack, actually maybe even smaller, and they're charging it at like, what, 500 kilowatts? Which on a battery pack that size, that's already extremely stressful on a battery pack that size. But the even crazier part is at 80%, most batteries will drop below 100 kilowatts. Some range between 50 and 80 in there. Yeah, this battery, it's doing 250 kilowatts above 80%.
That to me is just kind of crazy. I mean, I think a big reason why China is actually so much more innovative in the EV space than they are in other industries, because I know this is gonna sound a little bit incorrect, I guess, but I mean, let's face it, many cheap Chinese gadgets are based for the most part the same stuff, just with different brands and whatnot. That's the most of cheap Chinese gadgets are. But when it comes to their EVs, there's a whole lot of competition. So therefore, they keep pushing to get better tech.
Yeah, and the scary thing is, like, out of every industry that you expect, everyone remembers the stereotype, the Chinese ripoff, the Chinese knockoff. And while when it comes to electric cars, their designs, yeah, there are a lot of knockoffs. They look very similar to a lot of other cars.
Like, I'm looking at you, BYD.
Yes. But underneath the hood, if that's a knockoff, I'd like to know who developed it, because let me think. The only one who comes close that's not within the Chinese in terms of like battery tech, well, I guess there's two for some aspects. For powertrain efficiency, that's Lucid's thing. But for charging performance, that is Taycan's thing. So, but even when you compare them, they still don't even match the capabilities of what the Chinese are doing.
And kind of driving my analogy further home is that in China, there is competition for gadgets, but it's not quite like it. But it's not quite like it is in the United States, where there's more high-tech brands competing. So, whereas, I mean, let's face it, in the United States, I mean, there's competition for EVs, but we all know that if you're buying an EV, you're more than likely going to buy a Tesla.
Yeah. Funny enough, a lot of it just comes down to a single charging standard.
Yeah.
Which, that's getting fixed at some point. Yeah, I've been following a few other few EV competitors coming into the market that it seems like so far the next transition's kind of slowing down. Like, most people are finally getting their adapters and such. I heard a recent report that all Ford EV owners that requested their free adapter, they finally got it, for example. But the thing that irks me is, why are they waiting to integrate the native port in?
I don't know. Like, there's no time. There's no time to wait, too. That's the other thing.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. What was Ford's announcement back when they announced that they are ditching CCS and going NACS? If I recall, it's adapters in 2024, which that stage at least is complete, and the native port on their vehicles in 2025.
Where is the native port?
That's what I'd like to know. In fact, Hyundai actually beat them to it.
Well, Hyundai's getting serious. Well, now Hyundai's getting serious. It makes sense.
Yeah, Hyundai's got it crazy when it comes to... I'd say if you're looking for a legacy automaker, a legacy auto vehicle, and not from the EV startups, Hyundai's really your best bet to go with, especially if you're on a budget. Because their vehicles, they charge... For the price, they charge very impressively well. They even charge better than a Tesla. For the price. Taycan still technically beats it, but for the price tag, no, Hyundai's Ioniq line, it is insane. And now the Ioniq 5, basically at the start of 2025, you can buy an Ioniq 5 today with the native NACS port, and is it going to charge well in the supercharger network? Not just yet, but we're getting there. We're getting there. That and so yeah, the Ioniq 5 is out with the NACS port. They're getting ready to launch the Ioniq 9, which it'll never have a CCS port, they say. At least in our market. In South Korea, it has a CCS port, but that's what they use there. But here in North America, nope, it's shipping with NACS, and that is the official standard.
That's awesome. And speaking of EVs, I saw a Tesla. I think it was either an X or Y out in a parking lot today. And I saw a Porsche. I know this is not an EV, but I saw a Porsche Cayenne out on the road in my closest big city.
Oh, I should tell the podcast what I spotted today. Again, I live in a mostly conservative area. If you talk to most of the people around here, you'll find they're mostly conservative. I'm shocked to see the amount of EVs around here, but I spotted the brand new 2025 Cadillac Escalade IQ EV.
That's awesome.
What's it doing here?
Well, it makes sense because apparently you live in EV country and you also live in prime GM country.
Well, EV country, you'd think it wouldn't be, because we got wimpy charge point stations that... Actually, I hear one of the stalls is down right now, so that's not good. But we have next to nothing for charging infrastructure. It's so bad here, and yet I see Model Ys, Model 3s, ID4s. There's a Kia EV6 that drives around here. There's a black Rivian that I'm seeing on a weekly basis. Someone around here is still driving a Tesla Model S Plaid.
You're so lucky. I never see any of... I rarely see any of those cars driving around my city.
Yeah, and again, this is mostly a conservative area.
And I live in a conservative area too.
Yeah, this is just... What the heck? I mean, not gonna lie, I enjoy car spotting now because, hey, Model 3 there, or an EV6 there, Rivian R1T there. Occasionally I'll spot a Cybertruck here and there.
I still have yet to see a Cybertruck in person.
It is crazy, the number of EVs I spot up here. And then, oh yeah, I've got another one that's becoming popular around here. Equinox EVs.
Mm-hmm.
Our dealership is not struggling to sell those. Again, this week, they recently got one on their lot. And 3 days later, it was in the sold lot. It's just crazy. And they're still shipping them with CCS. That's the biggest thing that irks me about them. Why would you buy a CCS EV today when we know it's a dying standard? We got chargers coming online that do support the higher voltage architecture and have NACs. Like, what's that network? Iona? Ever heard of them?
Yeah.
That, and I think if more EVs would start actually putting the NACS connector on them already, that would be enough to pressure Electrify America. Hey, next time we need to do a cable swap, I don't know. Maybe we could swap one of the cables on our chargers to be NACS? Maybe? Even though we know Electrify America still sucks.
Yeah. Well, I said they were going to do NACS, but...
I mean, yeah, they said
EVs,
they were going to do it, but just, my goodness. There's no pressure to do it right now, and it seems like the only vehicles that have NACS are the Ioniq 5, the Ioniq 9 when that comes out. I don't know why the Ioniq 6 doesn't have it yet. The Lucid Gravity, that's the other one. But everyone else, it's like Rivian R2 and R3, those aren't even out yet. They haven't even gone into production yet. But those are confirmed. Yeah, they're going to ship with NACS from launch. Aptera is another one that I'm aware of that is going to have NACS at launch. Same with the Tello truck. The Tello mini truck is a vehicle I'm really excited for. I might actually buy that over a Rivian R1T if I'm being honest. What's the other? It's another Volkswagen conglomerate. What is it? Scout. That's it. They're also going to ship with NACS at launch. But that's the thing. They're supposed to do it at launch. None of these vehicles are in production yet.
Well, well, again, just to show you why Teslas are the best EVs right now, but it seems almost kind of like a genius marketing ploy that Tesla's did by opening up NACS, because now no one else has switched, so it still lets Teslas be far ahead of the game.
Yeah, they still have their advantage for now, because there's some people that they just don't want to deal with an adapter. I don't want to deal with an adapter. Yeah. Even though if I were to get a Tesla today, I'd have to deal with one if I want to go to the charge point station. Unless I go to City Hall and really complain that they need to get NACS cables on them. Which, yes, ChargePoint does sell NACS cables. There are charge point stations out there with NACS cables.
Should I move on to our next actually planned topic, though?
Yeah, I think that's enough EV talk.
Oh, this one is about EVs, but this is also about YouTube. So...
Oh, I didn't read this close enough. Yeah.
So we both know how we've both gotten hatred on our hateful comments on our videos that defended the vandalism against Teslas.
I gotta see, what does your comment section look like right now on that video?
I hid all the comments that are too derogatory. Or that defend it, so you're not going to find that much on mine.
That's the podcast. Why does it have to be the same icon? Alright, videos.
What? You don't like how the podcast and my channel have the same icon?
It gets confusing when going through the subscriptions feed.
Yeah. Somebody commented, no, I don't really like Teslas. I think they cost way too much to insure, and I'm not a fan of their interiors. But doing straight up vandalism to them, burning their chargers is too extreme. Fortnite accent. That's terrible. That's terrible for owners who are fooled into an overpriced car. The Cybertruck is not a good car. This is stupid. Why set fire or vandalize people's property? Anyone who does this is an idiot. Also, I don't like Elon, never liked him. I think his cars are overpriced slop. Not on my wildest dreams, so I think about vandalizing them, though.
You know, I think you're right about the bot thing, because notice how all of these people say overpriced. First up, if you look at the Model 3, the Tesla Model 3, base price. at $40,000. Just so you guys know, the average selling price for a car today is around $50,000 here in the US. It's sad that it's that much because it was only 5 years ago when the average selling price was $40,000, but nope, that's not the case anymore. So Tesla Model 3, before tax incentives and all that, is starting at around $42,000 before the incentives. That gets you 386 miles of range at 70 miles an hour, access to the supercharger network, and really fairly decent charging speeds. One of the best route planners in the EV industry. So that means taking road trips. Yeah, you're pretty much all set. But oh wait, there's more. Do you like heated and cooled seats? Yeah, that's standard equipment. The sound system? Pretty solid. I've tested it out myself, and my audiophile ears 100% approve. What else? 2 wireless chargers. You hardly even find that in luxury vehicles today. Man, there's a lot of stuff. Phone as key. Dog mode. That's a big one for dog owners. And I guess you're a cat owner if you leave cats in the car, that could keep them cool as well. While FSD might not be one of those value adders, the active safety equipment is pretty solid. Usually does a pretty good job. Oh, and active safety, let's forget about that. How about passive safety, like when the car does get in an accident? It is ever rare somebody gets into an accident with in a Tesla and doesn't walk away from it. If you watch Wham Bam Tesla Cam, you will see just these cars completely torn, shredded, crushed into all sorts of different pieces. And for the most part, the owners usually walk away clean. Every now and then they might have a bump or something like that. But yeah, if you look at these cars, you think that person should have died in that accident. So yeah, passive safety even. The car is structurally sound, despite everyone's complaints on build quality and such. And truthfully, this list could go on and on and on about so many things that Tesla gets right over the rest of the industry. A lot of it comes down to software and general EV technology. And while they might not offer the best of it in one particular category, my goodness, you cannot find a better package put together than a Tesla, especially the Model 3. Their cheapest Model 3, mind you. Not the performance, not the dual motor long range. The base rear wheel drive Model 3 for $42,000 before tax incentives.
That's what I say is a pretty good deal, but getting back to what I was going to say, basically, organizations that defend this Tesla vandalism or promote it are apparently now paying for bots to comment on videos defending the Tesla vandalism, which is how come we're getting those comments.
Yeah, and I think the overpriced stuff, I don't think a lot of people truly understand that. I mean, there's some vehicles that do cost a lot more than they should, like the Cybertruck. It was not designed to be started at that price point. The reason why the Cybertruck costs that much is purely due to supply and demand. Basic economics. And so, yeah, if you want to talk about an overpriced Tesla, yeah, the Cybertruck is definitely overpriced. It is a terrible $100,000 vehicle. It's a great $50,000 vehicle. Most owners will tell you that. It's a great $50,000 vehicle, and that's what Tesla designed it to be, not a $100,000 vehicle. And for some of the unlucky few who paid the $120,000 price tag for the Foundation Series Cyber Beast, yeah, Cybertruck's been a slight mess for Tesla.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it comes to the Model 3, you cannot, if you even compare it to its closest competitor, the Hyundai Ioniq 6, it starts at $44,000 before incentives, if there are any. Oh wait, yeah, it doesn't qualify for any tax credits. So yeah, it starts at $44,000. And it doesn't get as good of range as the Model 3 rear drive. It charges faster. It does have that over the Model 3. But here's a bunch of things that it lacks. Auto-dimming rear view mirror. It has cloth seats.
Cloth seats?
Cloth seats. Even the base Model 3. I mean, it's not real leather, but it's not cloth. It has HDA 1 instead of HDA 2. So it has a downgraded safety suite.
That's not good.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember everything on the options list that is available for that car. I just don't, but yeah, the base car is lacking a lot of stuff. I actually don't even know if it has automatic headlights or not.
Even my car has automatic headlights.
Yeah, there are some cars out there that don't have automatic headlights still.
Only if there are also some cars that still don't have auto up and auto down on all their windows. And my car from 2014 has auto up and auto down all its windows.
Oh yeah, I don't even think the Ioniq 6 has that. I mean, it might be an auto down driver's window, but I think that's it.
Even my car, which is like worth $9,000 now, has auto down for all of its windows.
Yep. Model 3 has a power trunk. Ioniq 6 does not. Yeah, I know it's a lot of little stuff, but this. Oh yeah, it doesn't have I think it does have heated seats standard, but it does not have ventilated seats standard. You do have to option that on and add a higher trim. So that means you're paying a lot more if you want ventilated seats in an Ioniq 6. And this is their closest competitor. In the sedan space, at least. You throw in crossovers, like comparing the Model Y to the Equinox. The Equinox does have a lot of benefits that the Model Y does not.
Tabby said he's almost done.
Oh, that's good. So, yeah. When it comes to comparing Tesla to its competition, you might think the competition is actually overpriced, not Tesla. Tesla's, you can get them for a really good deal, and because I hate bringing up tax incentives and all that, because it's a messy subject, but most people often end up qualifying for the tax credits, and because it's a point of sale type of thing, most of the time people are walking away. If you buy the base Model 3, it's around $35,000.
That's pretty good deal.
Yeah, that's with the tax, and that's with the tax credit applied. I have no idea if that's sticking around, and honestly, I am against tax credits in general. Even though, if I'm being honest, I would like to take advantage of it if it is available. Because, hey, it's my money I'm spending on taxes. In that case, I want to get it back somehow. But, yeah, it's really hard. It really is really hard to argue a Tesla's value. It's why I'm trying to buy the base model Tesla. It's the base model Tesla. Best value car out there, and it happens to be the cheapest. So, one of these days, I'll get my hands on it.
But shall we move on to something that is that sounds like a horrible value?
Ooh, something that I pay for. Sort of.
So YouTube Premium Lite is going to be a light version of YouTube Premium that's going to be $8 per month, and it's going to have rollout expected in Thailand and Germany soon. But here's the big catch. Well, there's a few big catches. So you won't be able to download videos for offline play. And you won't be allowed to listen to them in the background. And you also won't get access to YouTube Music. But furthermore, this is the big one. Most videos will be ad-free. Like videos in certain categories will be free. Or ad-free.
Yeah, that's
Rip off.
The whole point. Like, you know what? Fine. Don't include any of the background play or any of the other extra added features or whatever. Fine. But the reason why a lot of us get YouTube Premium isn't for any of those features in the first place. The reason why we get it is because we are sick and tired of having to watch 10 ads every 5 minutes of content we watch. I'm exaggerating, but it's still really annoying. What is my iMac doing?
Is it on?
Yeah, it's on.
You leave it on?
Not all the time, though. I'm leaving it on right now to get some form of heat in this room.
Oh, well, that's genius.
It's not functioning that well right now.
What's wrong with it this time?
Can you click?
Oh, that.
My mouse appears to not be clicking. Come on. There we go. There we go. Now the mouse is clicking. Huh. Yeah, just the iMac was making some pretty weird noises. Oh. And I forgot to mute it. Whoops.
Oh, hey, Tabby.
Yep.
Yeah, are you recording?
I am.
Alright, good. We were just talking about YouTube Premium Lite.
YouTube Premium Lite, what does it do?
So it's going to be a budget version of YouTube Premium that is going to remove removes all the features like background play and whatnot, and YouTube Music and whatnot. But the big catch is that YouTube Premium Lite only has videos in certain categories that will be ad free.
That's kind of nonsense to me.
Yeah.
That kind of gets you to the point of buying YouTube Premium.
Exactly.
So it's literally an $8 per month ripoff.
Anywho, what's the next topic?
So the Nothing Phone 3A and 3A Pro have just launched before the regular Nothing Phone 3, but they actually have a unique design for once.
Those do look cool.
Yeah.
I am a fan of Nothing's design in general, and I think they're doing unique stuff, which is something that you really can't say about a lot of manufacturers.
That is true. I mean,
Yeah,
my number one complaint when in the design department is nobody is doing anything unique. They're all just making iPhone clones. Yeah,
I'm surprised that Alpha isn't a bigger fan of them, because I remember Alpha did not have the best things to say about the Phone 1.
No, the Phone 1, Phone 2 are complete ripoffs of iPhones,
Yeah.
but the 3... But
But
the
Alpha.
2A, and I mean the 3A especially, they're starting to look a little more unique.
As for a budget phone, what would you say about the 2A XL? Wait, 2A Plus? 2A XL? Whatever.
I thought it was Pro.
And the 3A. I know they had a 2A like Plus version, like a bigger version, which was apparently a very solid phone. I've only had the Nothing Phone 1. Never really looked into anything else because it's a lot of money to be thrown out there. But what do you think about them, creating these sub $400 phones, which are pretty competitive, good software, good hardware, and uniqueness?
Yeah, so if I'm being honest, I haven't paid too much attention to them, and it's not really because of the brand's fault. And hey, nobody's perfect. I've gone out there saying you should look at Elon objectively for his pros and his cons, and I'm kind of doing the same with Carl Pei here, and I will acknowledge his pros. Dude knows how to make a budget phone. He really does. It's just, there was something, was it either last year or 2 years ago, where...
Last year.
Yeah. He said something that... It was basically, he was blaming Apple for nothing's shortcomings. And this was like before. This
Really?
was back when they were still making a lot of iPhone clone-ish design. Not perfect, but like, the phone 1 and the phone 2, they kind of look close to iPhones and such. This was back when they were still doing that. And he's blaming Apple for nothing's lack of success.
Huh.
So, yeah, I do know the man knows how to make a good budget phone. But there were some things about him that it just irked me, and knowing that's his philosophy, he doesn't think his company is actually trying hard enough, and instead he's blaming Apple for his shortcomings. I just took a lot of issue with that, and I mean, at the time, nothing didn't really have much of a reason to attract me. I mean, yeah, I thought the light thing was kind of cool. It's just, again, the fact that it looks like an iPhone clone just turned me off. It just looked like an iPhone with pretty lights on it. And so,
Yeah.
a lot of these things, it turned me off of nothing, and that's why I didn't pay too much attention to them. And it looks like this time around I probably should, if I'm being honest. But yeah, that was just the big thing that irked me. Just Carl Pei blaming Apple for his lack of success with this brand when Apple had almost nothing to do with it. I mean, sure, yeah, Apple has majority smartphone market share in the U.S. and as it seems to keep growing. Though, again, I blamed it on the lack of Android competition, Android actually trying, Android actually competing. And
Android is not really based off of the idea of being the greatest OS for the consumer. It's more about based on the idea of being the greatest OS for the enthusiast. And a lot of companies have tried to make Android into more of a consumer OS, and they've done a good job.
Yeah, some
I'm
have
not
done a
saying
pretty
it's
good
not
job.
a consumer OS. All I'm saying, it's pretty hard for me to say that Android is better than iOS for consumer tasks when I've used just about every Android OEM. I've used nothing. OnePlus, Google, Samsung, LG, who else has been in HTC, just all these. My first Android ever was an HTC. Yeah. And these have always been good devices, but when you get into it, it's like, it's not really as friendly to the interface.
And then another thing too that I think a lot of Android people don't discuss is like, what are the core fundamental advantages to Android that they have over iOS? Big one is open source, rooting, so you can install customization. These are all things that enthusiasts would do.
Yeah. Customization, people say, oh, the average user wants customization. They don't care. I mean, Go to your grandma and say, hey, grandma, if I gave you this phone, would you put custom app icons on it, and would you change the font to look like a kid's drawing on a kid's writing on a chalkboard? And it's like, it's hard to change the font on Android now. It's like you need root access for that, I'm pretty sure, in some phones. I'm not sure, though. It's getting increasingly harder and harder to find a good launcher. The customization aspect is almost gone. And it's like, on Samsungs, you have Good Lock. Okay, great. That fixes a lot of issues with Samsungs. It still doesn't fix the fact that Samsungs were not really designed with the consumer's mind
Exactly.
In their book. And it doesn't make sense to me why a lot of people buy Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultras over stuff like the iPhone 16, regular base 16. And people will buy the Ultra Samsung over the standard iPhone just because they think that it's a better phone, just because it has that tag. And I'm not saying it's a bad phone. I've always been a big fan of Samsung Ultra phones. Well, not a big fan, but I've liked them.
I've always loved the Note
two
series.
Ultra phones right now. Yeah, until they got rid of that.
Yeah.
I have two Ultra phones right now. Both of them have a good bit of customization done to them, but when it comes down to it, end of the day, it doesn't matter. Because I've never seen anybody who's not either 14 years old, an enthusiast, or just bored customize their phone's interface. I've never seen,
you guys seen how often I even customize my phone, and I'm an enthusiast, and yet, like, look at my home screen.
The only thing I customize is my wallpaper, and I mean I customize the layout when I first get my phone, home screen layout when I first get my phones, and usually what I do is I customize the lock screen so that way the lock screen font is similar to that of older iOS.
Yeah, I mean same here because I've had my backup since 2021. I started on the 12 Pro, and since then I've never redesigned. Actually, I redesigned my home screen once because that was when iOS 16 hit and we no longer had to get a widget to show us what our battery was.
Yeah,
put it in the notch. After that, I was like, okay, I can add 4 more apps on my home screen. So I have that, and I still have apps from 2021 or 2022, I guess, on my home screen. And my lock screen, I pretty much put my wallpaper to something when I first get the phone, and my wallpaper's been the same since September. And on my last phone, I had it the same for a long time. It doesn't matter to me. If I had a Samsung phone, I'd probably keep it mostly stock besides changing, I don't know, maybe the colors. And I'd change everything once and then forget about it. I can't tell you the last time I thought about my app home screen layout or, any of this. And then another thing that people don't bring up about Android, why does every widget on Android phones just suck?
Honestly, every widget on every phone kind of sucks, but that's just me.
Yeah. I mean, they invent it.
Yeah.
And then they don't give us a great weather widget like iOS does.
No, they don't.
Third-party widgets, I have a widget on my phone that tells me, or that shows me, photos from this day in previous years. I love that. That's awesome. It's a third-party widget. If I was to switch to Android, I would have to give that up. I've been using this for well over a year now, and it's great because it shows me what I was doing today in previous years. I mean, today, 1 year ago, it looks like I was playing with ducks. That's when my car had hit 10,000 miles. 2 years ago, that's when I got my red hydrogen 1. 3 years ago, that's looks like that's when I got my SE2, which I ended up selling. Not my main one, but there are just so many things about iOS, just these small things. I would never switch to Android just because I'd lose. And Elias has tried to get me on an S24 Ultra or a Z Flip or Fold, and every time I don't go.
Yeah, when I made my Will the iPhone XS Max Survive 2025 video, because that was when I basically laid out the plans that I am going to retire this year. One commenter just kept pushing. Why don't you use Android? Your iOS experience is so buggy. Why don't you use Android? And I always find myself in this predicament where it's hard to explain, but just Android just does not fit my needs. And the only objective thing that I can come up with that I can get some people to agree on is, I'm sorry guys, Android notification management is just trash.
Everyone always tells me Android notifications are better than iOS, but I've absolutely never seen that before.
I mean,
I don't know,
it used to be the case before iOS 12. iOS notification management used to be pretty bad pre-iOS 12, where you'd have big bubbles and none of them were stacked, and so you'd have this extremely long list of notifications upon notifications and such. And just Android, at the time, they did have their notification stacking function. And even to this day, there's, well, actually, no, some of them aren't now, but they were generally more compact. So you weren't endlessly scrolling. Well, minus the fact that, you get these useless notifications like, your phone is charging, your phone is, etc.
Oh, I hate that.
Yeah. So there was a time where even I agreed, yes, iOS notification management used to suck. But once iOS 12 came in, solved everything, and now everything about Android's notification system sucked.
Yeah, for my only gripe with iOS notification management is how come on iOS 16 and above they have the notifications at the bottom, which, I'm sorry, that does not look like that does not look unique at all. That just makes it look weirder and out of place. And besides, iOS 16 was supposed to bring lock screen customization. I should be able to move the notifications back to the top if I want to.
I think, yeah, it's another problem with iOS. Its design has become a lot more inconsistent over the years. Like, let me go to, say, oh my gosh, I wear these gloves at work, but they keep bumping the buttons on my watch, and I keep getting screenshots taken on it. So.
Oh yeah, I had to disable that because
that's annoying.
Screenshot feature.
So all right, but yeah, let's go to the trash folder. Is there anything in here that I don't want shown? Okay, nope, it's just the screenshot. So yeah, say I want to exit the trash folder. I thought this is supposed to be a page. It doesn't open up like a page. So yeah, I swipe back. It doesn't open up like a page. Why? It feels weird.
Another weird detail I hate about iOS is how come in order to review my recently deleted photos, which, let me go to my most recently deleted.
Oh, here's another inconsistent thing I found. The music app.
You have to use Face ID to view it to open it.
Yep, so the music app. Let's go to playlist. That functions like a page. That still functions like a page. Let's select one of my playlists. That opens up like an application. Okay, let's go back. Closes like an application. Let's go back again. Closes like a page. Why? Why the inconsistency? It actually really infuriates me.
iOS is just goofy at this point.
And yet, despite all these gripes I have, it's hard to explain that Android still is not a good fit for me, even still.
I
don't know. There's just too many things on Android.
I have to delete podcast episodes from my library, Apple Music library, because they're hogging up, because the recordings are now hogging up my music library.
It's just...
Well, what's our next topic besides Android?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So, Xiaomi has just announced their Buds 5 Pro, which are the first earbuds to stream over Wi-Fi.
I guess.
Kind
of seems like a useless feature to me.
I was gonna say the exact same thing. Just why would you have Wi-Fi earbuds? Earbuds are supposed to be the go anywhere, take with you anywhere.
How do you navigate that?
That's another thing too. How do you input a Wi-Fi password on those?
Yeah, I don't get that.
Shall we move on to our next topic? Because I think we can all agree that this is stupid.
Yeah.
All right. So Tesla just launched FSD as City Autopilot in China.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm really curious.
pretty cool
here's
indeed.
another thing that China has in terms of innovation over us. You'd be surprised how good the self-driving tech there is.
Really?
I watched an
I'm not
out-of-spec video,
surprised.
and a lot of the times FSD does not know how to handle like New York City traffic or something like that, where you're cutting everybody off and you gotta fight your way in to get into traffic and such. I witnessed a product made in China, it's self-driving software, and just everyone in China actually drives like they drivers in New York, where you're basically fighting for your spot, and I can't believe that they make it work like that. This is the case everywhere in China, I guess, but because that's what self-driving software has to put up with, it will force its way into traffic. It will figure out when it's not supposed to force its way into traffic. And it's all smooth in the process of doing that. Oh, and actually its self-parking abilities as well. Yeah, you can it's actually so good. I watched the guy on camera. He got out of the driver's seat. He tapped, well, before he got out of the driver's seat, he tapped on the car, yeah. Go find a parking spot. Then he got out of the driver's seat, walked away, and the cameraman inside is like, guy's not even here, and the car is parking itself perfectly. Tesla hasn't even figured that out yet.
That's crazy.
Yeah, the EV industry is crazy of what's going on in China. And so I found the thing is, this type of software is not exclusive to just this one brand. There's a lot of other Chinese automakers that have their own versions of FSD. All of them function pretty well, and it was actually a disadvantage of buying a Tesla. You only had basic autopilot, which didn't even compare.
Yeah.
That's just crazy. I mean, FSD finally has gotten pretty good. It's not perfect. I still see it screw up quite often, but my goodness, when it gets it right, it gets it right.
I mean, even though it's illegal, drivers can fall asleep and drive with FSD.
No, they can't. If the car
Yeah.
detects you sleeping, it will shut off.
Oh, darn it, they finally fixed that.
Yeah, I believe the way the system works now is you don't need your hands on the wheel. There's an interior camera that's monitoring your eyes, and as long as you're paying attention to the road in front of you, yeah, she won't even nag you to touch the wheel anymore.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's where self-driving
That's pretty
tech is
cool.
right now.
But shall we move on to our next topic now?
Yeah.
So Volkswagen has just announced the ID Everyone, which is a 20,000 euro budget EV with Rivian software that's going to
The
arrive
what?
in 2020. It's a 20,000 euro budget EV that's with Rivian software as part of their partnership. That's arriving in 2027.
What are they calling it?
The ID Everyone.
It's kind of a stupid name.
It is.
I mean, it kind of makes sense because it's like an ID for everyone, but I mean, kind for like the average Joe. But I mean, it kind of makes sense, but at the
Is
same
this
time,
supposed to be
yeah,
like
it's-
their e-Golf replacement or something?
I don't know much about Volkswagen, so I don't know.
It's either that or, well, yeah, Volkswagen has another dumb electric car named, what is it? The E-Up?
The E.
That.
It's a Volkswagen hatchback in Europe. They call it the E-Up.
Oh.
Yeah, crazy cars that we don't have here with crazy car names like E-Up.
Yeah.
Man, I gotta. It's too now. When I go to Europe this summer, I won't be driving any cars because I'll, for the most part, be in England, in London, in the big cities, in England and France. But once I get out of But someday, like when I'm an adult, I want to do a trip in rural Europe, a trip in driving through Europe, and am quite curious to see what cars they drive there.
I finally finished my Google Street View trip through. I started in London. I then made my way to Paris. Then I went to the Nürburgring, and then made my way to Oslo. Oslo's in Norway, for context.
Yep. I've heard of Oslo.
Yeah. On my way there, the funniest thing, just going through Denmark. Middle of Denmark, there's a town called Middelfart.
Oh, what?
You search on a map, look up Middelfart, Denmark.
What kind of a name is that?
Funny one.
It's Danish.
Yeah. Yeah, it was crazy to see all of the little hatchbacks and the lorries.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Very
a real
different car
place.
culture there. Then, to my surprise, I got into... Once I entered Oslo, the first electric car that I saw was a Mach-E. I did not know they sold those things there. Yeah. Yeah, Ford Mach-E. That was the first electric car I saw in Oslo. In Street View.
Yeah. Well, by that... Yeah. Yeah, I was about to say you did not go there.
I would... Dude, I would love to go to Norway.
Same.
Then, Teddy, you're into road infrastructure and such?
Yeah.
Did you know the majority of Oslo's freeway system is underground?
So it's basically like the Big Dig on steroids.
Most of the freeway runs underground in Oslo.
That's how most big cities should do it, to be honest. Well, I don't know if most big cities should do it, but I mean, it's kind of fascinating how some cities do it. Like, I mean, Boston famously did that with the Big Dig of I-93.
Yeah, then you got the 2 tunnels going through New York to get to Manhattan.
Oh, yeah.
But even then, those don't even compare to the freeways in Oslo. It's just, most of them are underground. There are some that are exposed to daylight, but no, you get on, most of the time when you get on it, you're just entering a tunnel. Even the exits are covered in tunnels. You gotta think, that's gotta be expensive.
Yeah, I mean, granted, most of the interstate highway system was actually inspired by Europe's freeways. And I'm trying to think of other urban tunnels. Oh yeah, there's an urban tunnel in Louisville, because if you go on, well, it's about to become I-265, but if you go on KY-841 in Louisville as you're about to cross the Ohio River, once you get after the last exit, which is US 42, before you cross into the Ohio River on that side, there's a tunnel there.
I think I drove through it.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I drove through that tunnel. Found it interesting. I hit bridge, and then I hit tunnel.
Yeah, that was a weird engineering choice. And there's the... Well, this one's actually makes sense, but there's the Cumberland Gap Tunnel.
So...
on US 25E in between Kentucky and Tennessee, there's a tunnel on I-77. Well, I'm just naming rural tunnels. Shall I get back to our main topic list?
I'd say so. There's only one left on the list.
Yeah, I'll be right back. I have to take a call. Hold on. But you guys can go on.
Yep.
We'll have to wait for Tabby to get back before we go on to this last topic, for it's a special one.
Yeah. You know, if your tech company doesn't make it and you don't make it on YouTube either, you'd probably do pretty well in civil engineering.
I don't want to be a civil engineer.
They could use your help. Especially ours. Oh, ours is the worst.
So you're telling me they need my help Just get a
Effectively.
freeway up to the UP.
Well, a combination of that, and then they need to fix the Uper loop.
Oh no, I think the Uper loop is fine, to be honest.
No. Trust me, it's I drive through that thing. It is not fine.
I don't live there, but I mean it's not. I ultimately just fixing the signage would help fix the Uper loop, and then also if you're not going to build a freeway through Houghton, at least build a bypass and a second bridge.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. Like the video clip that I've showcased going through it, that's not through rush hour. Once you hit rush hour, good luck trying to get from US 41 to M26. I'm talking like coming from downtown Houghton, getting onto M26. Good luck. You will be forced to repeat that loop. How many times?
I'm back.
That's its fundamental flaw.
Well, I actually know an easy way to fix that. Just build a simple intersection with a stoplight.
I'd rather a roundabout, but I mean, yeah, that's the point. It needs to be replaced. The Uper loop has to go. It's awful.
So, are you sure they don't need yours? Are you sure they don't need your help to, fix the Uper loop and then build that bypass around Houghton?
I mean, somehow I've always been filled with genius ideas, except nobody listens to them. So,
why don't you actually try running for some position of power in Houghton to get that done?
Considering I'm trying to leave the city, I don't think that's going to work well. So,
well, what's our next topic? Because it is getting kind of late.
Oh yeah. All right. So this is our final topic. 2 days ago, as of recording this, we're recording this on March 13th, but March 11th, 2025, is the 3-year anniversary of the first episode of TIFP, and I recorded it and released it on the same day.
I remember recording that.
I remember how it snowed. I remember how it snowed a lot the next day in my area. Really? Yeah, because I remember it dropped like almost 10 degrees while I was recording.
Wow.
Because I was outside without a jacket and such earlier that day to film my iPhone 3GS retrospective.
Yeah.
Because that was back when we did recording on Fridays, but I remember recording the first episode of TIFP.
I don't.
Yeah, I do too.
That was probably one of our best episodes. Because, I mean, not in terms of quality, because the way I filmed it was pretty horrible quality, but making that was definitely a fun one.
It was.
Yeah, and this is before Alpha joined TIFP, so...
Yeah.
And
I was the inspiration factor, though.
Yeah, so... Basically, for those of you who don't know the story of how TIFP got started, I was guest on the Random Alpha podcast, which is Alpha's old podcast, back in January of 2022.
Back when that used to be a thing.
I then got inspired to create my own podcast called the iTunes Fan Podcast, and Tabby was the only other person who wanted to be the host of that, so me and Tabby started that show in March 2022.
Yeah.
And afterwards it got going. We had a lot of guests in the first season, but believe it or not, guys, TIFP was not always called TIFP. For when this podcast first started, we initially called it the iTunes Podcast. And then with my brief failed channel rebranding, this podcast got changed in April 2022 to the Apple Tree Podcast.
I remember that as well.
And then April 2022, once later that same month, once I reverted back to the iTunes Fanboy, I decided that just because it made more sense. I decided to call us the iTunes Fanboy Podcast.
Yeah.
So it's had the name TIFP for almost as much time, almost as long as this podcast has been around for, but not quite.
Yeah.
But is there anything else anybody wants to say about the 3-year anniversary of the show?
I don't think so.
I'd say this is one of the best things that's happened to me, to be honest. Because that was also during the time where... well, that was back when my friend ghosted me, which was how my old podcast ended up drowning.
And then because your podcast drowned, so basically in July 2022, the Random Alpha podcast went down, and Alpha wanted to get on TIFP with Tabby to argue about the iPhone XS Max.
that was the big thing that we initially started out. It was all in a disagreement about it's right here. This phone. I loved it. In a way, this phone brought us together.
In a way, the iPhone XS Max is a good phone because it brought us together.
Yeah, then I'm excited for this summer because hoping to meet up with them this summer.
Yeah,
that's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, you won't be able to meet me because my parents probably wouldn't let me go anyway, and also that's in August when I'm starting school.
Yep.
So
so much to do, so much to plan. My goodness, I just remember that we had a call scheduled for tomorrow to finally get some dates on the calendar. I've been bugging everyone about. I just hope the trip works out, because the problem is when I plan, that's when things always go out. That's when things always turn into be a disaster.
It'll probably go pretty well.
I hope it
does.
I'm
pretty sure.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I just hope that nothing goes wrong in our cannonball on the way down there.
Yeah. Just got to be careful about
I am setting a maximum speed limit, by the way.
Hopefully the maximum is under 20 over, because 20 over in, I think, just about all these East Coast states will get you sent to jail.
Yeah. I'm doing a maximum.
I think 20 over in all states will get you sent to jail.
Yeah, that's where you cross into reckless driving.
Yeah.
I'm going back and forth between 5 or 10
federal
over.
Or not. That's not bad at all.
Yeah.
Because they'll leave you be all day in these areas are about that.
Yeah. I mean, that's the same here, too. In fact, our speed limits are so freaking slow, you can't get around anywhere around here. So, yeah, everyone does 5 over here. So.
Yeah. You'll see a lot of absolute nutcases here.
So, yeah, I'm debating between 5 and 10 over. I don't know. I want to leave enough room where you have the ability to pass a car and you're not causing problems in traffic, but at the same time, come on, don't be stupid.
Yeah.
So, I just hope my bladder lasts. That's the big thing.
Well, yeah. You can always stop. Well, you can always stop if you need to.
Well, here's the thing, though.
Well, not when you're in traffic.
Yeah. Well, here's the big thing that I'm curious. What's going to be the biggest problem factor? Because we're taking 2 cars down there. One of the guys is taking his Lexus, but it's a 90s Lexus with a V8, same size gas tank as mine. He is going to have to stop and fuel up more often than me. That's out of the question. Yeah. He's going to stop and fuel up more often than me. The big question for me, can I get my bladder to hold long enough so we don't have to stop as often? Because you might have noticed on my trips, if you watch the Drive channel, if you watch my road trip videos, which I don't think many of you do, I stop a lot. and use the bathroom a lot.
You don't stop any more than you don't stop anymore. My father probably stops about as much as you do.
Normally I can go.
Yeah, you're not the only one.
Normally I can go an hour and a half, maybe 2. So that's 150 miles.
I mean, with me it truly depends. Usually I have to be really close to a bathroom, and like usually when I'm at school I usually use the bathroom between every block, which is an hour and a half. So I mean I can do that, but if I'm driving for long periods of time, then I'm also not going to be drinking as much water. So,
in case guys didn't know, I'm going to stay awake.
I drink a lot of water.
Yeah, that's the big thing that for the most part this race would come down to. It's, are you going to lose because you have to stop and fuel up more often, or are you going to lose because you're going to stop and pee?
I mean, maybe you can just drive really aggressively, so your
no,
so your 4-cylinder drops fuel as fast as his 8-cylinder.
Don't do that, Alpha.
I'm joking, but
yeah.
And also,
I've had to fill up my car a lot when I do performance driving because I have a tiny gas tank in my car.
Yeah, I at least learned.
Yeah, I do.
When we initially leave and take off, we're going to drive all the way across the UP and then head downstate. That's part of our route. That'll be an average speed of around 60 miles an hour. That is literally perfect hypermiling territory for my car. It barely sips the juice at 60 miles an hour. That's when you're getting 40 plus miles per gallon on that thing.
That's nice.
So I'm actually wondering if that thing is efficient enough to get it all the way to Detroit on the first leg.
I don't know, but I would if I was doing.
I'm not sure.
If I was doing that road trip, I probably I drive more power. Again, I drive a V6 and a regular V6 car, so I don't know if my car could handle the equivalent of that.
Let me do the math. So my car is rated for 35 miles per gallon on the highway, and that's BS. It does more than that. 35 times 15.8. 553 miles. It's 500 miles from my house to Detroit. And that's worst case scenario.
Aren't you technically going to Ann Arbor or near that?
Okay, the general Detroit, Ann Arbor, that general area. The point is, I think I might get to the southern border of Michigan before I have to fill up. Because let me think, if I do,
to be honest, I wouldn't
40
be
miles per gallon times 15.8. That's my more likely range. 632 miles.
A lot of range out of that thing.
Yeah. Now, once we get on the highway, that's going to drop. So I'm willing to bet it's going to be between 500 and 600 miles, somewhere in there. But that's still... I should be able to get to the border of... I could probably make it to Ohio before I have to fill up. Driving all the way across Michigan. Now, is my bladder going to be able to do that? Absolutely not.
My bladder could not. If I try to drive all across my state, there's no way my bladder could do even half that.
Yeah. So, I am genuinely curious. What's going to be the limiting factor? Is it the gas stops or my bathroom breaks? That's what it's going to come down to.
Yeah.
To be honest, I wouldn't say it's so much the gas stops or the bathroom breaks. I would say your biggest factor is food breaks.
I mean, I think he just eats while driving, right?
Do not eat while driving. I highly advise against that.
I'll snack while driving. I typically don't eat while driving, but there's going to be multiple people in each car. So if I get hungry, I can have someone else drive and I can eat then.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I forgot.
Yep.
I'm so used to my car because in my car, whenever I go anywhere, So since I got my car, the only people who have driven it have been myself and service advisors.
Mm-hmm.
Because back before it was mine, I used to always have to deal with random damage, and it's crazy.
Well, didn't your mom also drive it too?
That was before it was like mine.
Okay.
But it's crazy. Every single passenger side of the car, like passenger doors, all that, they're like messed up. Driver side is like perfect, besides the service advisors put a dent in it somehow, but
Oof.
Whatever. I hate leaving my cars in. They're supposed to be Audi service. I don't think they should just have, I don't know, it's just kind of stupid to me how they leave more damage in 2 hours of having my car than I do in 2 years, but whatever.
Yeah, I found it strange how when I had my infotainment system replaced, I got the car back and they cracked my air vent.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really don't care about your car.
Yeah.
Better than the third party repair industry though. Those guys, I mean, for like phones and stuff, those guys will destroy your phone, then give you some
No, yeah, that's true.
garbage parts. But yeah, it is almost 8:30, so I think we should probably get ready to close this up.
I guess
All
so.
right, that's
yeah.
a good point. But as always, thank you all for tuning into another episode of iTunes Fan Podcast. As always, I'm Teddy Maggart from the iTunes Fanboy.
I am Tabby Cat.
My name is Alpha DeWolf from the Random Alpha.
And as always, we were saying peace out for now, and we hope to see you all in the next episode. And remember, not to embrace your artificial intelligence.
Or catch artificial
Goodbye,
intelligence disease.
Don't get that.